Hey there family, Peter Gordon here. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video, which is titled, Why Black Men Don't Do Therapy. So if you're coming to my channel for the first time, thank you so very much for being here. If this is your second or third or multiple visits back, thank you so much as well. If you could do me a small tiny favor in the meantime, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to like this video, comment on it, and do one final thing, hit that notification bell so that you're notified each Thursday when I post a brand new video. So let's get into the heart of today's topic. But before I do that, I want to put this little disclaimer out there. My views in this video are just that. They're my views. They're not really based on, I would say, scientific data. It's just sort of personal experience, all right? So with that out the way, let's get into the heart of today's topic. So why do black men don't do therapy? Now, I think it's for three reasons. And these three reasons, again, are based on my personal experiences and also with friends that I've spoken to and so on. So let's get into it. So social stigma, it's incredibly powerful in the black community, and it doesn't matter what black community I'm referring to. It could be in America, it could be in Jamaica where I'm from, other parts of the Caribbean, Latin America, Africa, it does not matter. Within the black community, there is a social stigma around seeking mental help. And I'm not entirely sure where it comes from. Some argue it's tied to the church, some argue it's just tied to mistrust of the medical industry. Regardless of where it comes from, there is a social stigma around seeking mental health help. And in my case, that was no different. I remember when my mother almost died and my sister passed away a few months later, and then my marriage unraveled a few months later. I remember started thinking to myself that I needed to talk to someone. And the only reason why, and to be honest, the only reason why I even went was that my ex-wife, who was my wife at the time, said to me, you should go and consider talking to a therapist. It would help you. And I remember saying to myself, I don't really want to do it, but I only did it because I wanted to show her I was working on myself, if that makes any sense. And so that was the only reason. But going there it was not a pleasant experience for me. I felt like the world was watching me. I felt like I would be judged. And to be honest, I felt quite weak as I succumbed to going to this therapist. And it was an experience that I can't say was pleasant because really, not because of the therapist, but really because of myself. I just couldn't bring myself to trust the process. And that was the very first time I'd gone to a therapist. And if I feel that way as a student working towards becoming a psychologist, imagine how the average person might feel, the average black person, the average black male, right? And so that is one of the big problems, social stigma. It runs deep and it affects us on such a deep, profound level as it relates to seeking mental health therapy that it prevents us from going to get the help that we need. So that's my number one. Number two, lack of diversity. Now, what exactly does the lack of diversity have to do with black men choosing not to do therapy? Let me explain. So in the US, the mass majority of people who are clinical social workers, licensed therapists, licensed psychologists, the mass majority of them are white women. In fact, only about 4% of the total clinician workforce is made up of black people, only 4%. And of that 4%, only another small amount is actually made up of black males. Here's where that causes a problem. If as a black male, you made a choice to decide that you want to get the help that you need, and you go out and you're trying to find someone that looks like you, preferably a male, and I'm only saying that because that is the exact same thing that I did. If you're trying to find a therapist, good luck. You have better luck finding a purple unicorn, to be honest with you, right? It's damn near impossible to find a black male therapist if you're a black male and that's who you want to work with. I remember in 2017 when I decided I want to get help, I reached out to a couple different therapists. In fact, I tried to dig around and I could not find a black male therapist. If you found one, they were booked up. So I decided, let me try to find a black female. If you found one, good luck, they were all booked up. And so I settled on this white female, lovely woman, but I'll be honest with you, I didn't really give her a chance because culturally, I couldn't connect with her. I didn't feel she could understand what it is that I was dealing with. So this is what a lot of black males face. Again, if they decide they want to do therapy, they dig around, they realize they're not going to find anyone that looks like them. So this can be a big turnoff. So this is why I think lack of diversity causes black males to not do therapy. So last but not least, the cost. Now, what does the cost have to do with black men choosing not to do therapy? Super simple. Therapy is expensive. It really is. I believe the average cost here in DC is something like $80 to $100 an hour. And that's on the cheap end. Now, there are some therapists that will give you a break here and there, especially if you don't have insurance. But regardless, that's expensive for a lot of people. And if you're a black male that decides that I'm going to, even if you have insurance, I'm going to try to find a therapist, and you start digging around and you're seeing that cost, it's going to be a major turnoff. And I've had several friends tell me that when they decide that they want to do therapy and they see the cost, they're just like, I'm not doing that. I don't have that kind of money. So the cost is something that we often glance over, but I think it's a major reason why black men choose not to do therapy. So I didn't want to end this video all doom and gloom, right? What I want to do is make sure that I'm giving advice that people can also use as well, or things to think about that can help them. So if you're a black male and you really need the help, man, don't sit on it. Go seek the help. I understand that social stigma is a real thing. I mean, it held me back for years. But what I will say is there's strength in knowing who you are. There's strength in saying, I need help, right? So try to work through it from that standpoint, and you'll find that once you do seek therapy, it's not what you think. There's nothing crazy or overly magical about it. It's just a process that helps you to uncover the best part of yourself. Now, as far as diversity, I will admit this, that the lack of diversity is of concern. It's perhaps the major reason why I chose to go back to grad school and then eventually going to go on to the PhD to become a clinical psychologist. That's the big reason, because I wanted to be part of the solution. But what I will say to brothers out there is this: don't hesitate to work with a black female or a Caucasian female. You see, in a lot of these graduate programs, and in general, there's a major push towards creating multiculturally competent counselors or psychologists. So they're there. You just have to do your homework and find them. You're gonna probably kiss a bunch of frogs. That's okay, but dig around till you find the right one. And then as far as the cost, I would say dig around as well. You might find somebody that's willing to work with you. There are organizations that offer pro bono services or even group counseling. There are clinics out there that has licensed therapists on hand. So there are some solutions, but you have to become your best advocate. So I hope this video makes sense to you guys. And as always, stay well.